Welcome back to our Steven. I set an alarm on my phone the same night it decided to auto-update at 2 a.m., so I'm well rested, and today, from someone asking the wrong question about weight to a roast so harsh a guy leaves a party, we've got some satisfying petty revenge stories, all starting with a post titled, "My boyfriend ate all the pulled pork, so I finished his favorite biscuits." So, my fiancé can be a little unthinking when it comes to food. He comes from a family where the policy was first come, first serve, and everyone is a glutton, so if you want to have your share, you have to be quick about it. I already had to set a very firm rule about not eating my half of the chocolate bars, and he's usually good about replacing the chocolate anyway. My family is the exact opposite. A single chocolate bar could last me up to a month, for example, and my parents always made sure that everyone got their fair share of any treats. This is for context, so you understand that my boyfriend isn't doing this maliciously. My mom had brought us a tub of pulled pork from a specialty, expensive butcher shop, and I had a little bit for dinner, way less than my allotted half. Then my boyfriend had his dinner. We ate at different times last night. I had to go out and ate all the pulled pork in the tub. I wanted to have some for lunch today, but none remained. And pulled pork in my country isn't a common food. Usually, you only find it in American-style burger restaurants, so it's not like I could go to any random supermarket and get some. I was so bummed, so for breakfast, I finished the bag of chocolate biscuits that he loves. There weren't many left, just enough for one person. He apologized and promised to check with me if I had my half of any treat we have at home before finishing it. He also said that he deserved my petty revenge. Edit, can everyone please stop insulting my fiancé? He doesn't do this constantly. This is one of maybe 3 instances in a 13-year relationship. Stop telling me not to marry him or that he's a jerk. We are all inconsiderate from time to time. We're human, and sometimes we just don't think and do stupid stuff. It wasn't malicious, and he apologized. His apology was genuine, and I know he's genuinely sorry about leaving me without the ever-precious pulled pork. Edit 2, stop assuming you know anything other than this tiny snippet of my life. You literally know nothing about my fiancé other than a couple of times in 13 years he ate some chocolate and some pulled pork. Just stop. It was a low-stakes, silly drama in a solid, long-lasting relationship. Have the decency to trust me when I say that there's nothing malicious about his actions and that you're making a mountain out of it. Seriously. I guess based on the edits, Reddit went on the offense against OP and their boyfriend. I think what OP's describing here is kind of just like a learning experience thing. What matters is, can you adjust after the fact and get used to a new reality of being cordial with your food? A user named Important Art left a comment saying, "We saw this kind of behavior with my sister and her husband. Apparently, the husband was raised in a family where you had to eat as much as possible and get all the good stuff before anybody else could. I witnessed them actually almost pushing elderly relatives out of the way in order to get to shrimp that was piled high on the Christmas buffet table. Fortunately, the hostess said to them, 'At my house, we let our elders go through the buffet line first.' My sister and her husband looked like somebody just smacked them with a 2x4. It was great. We no longer are friendly with my sister and her husband for just so many reasons, but this one particular instance to me was really appalling." The OP responded to that saying, "Thankfully this isn't a habit for him, it's just that from time to time, about 3 and 13 years, old behaviors kick in." Also, hi, I'm Steven, and if you guys enjoy awesome revenge stories, it would be amazing if you could hit those like or subscribe buttons down below. Our next story is, Ask Me About My Weight? Let's make it awkward. I, 36-year-old male, work in an office that is exclusively made up of male coworkers. I am 185 centimeters tall, 6 feet 7 inches to my 70 kg, 153 pounds, which means I present as quite skinny. To be clear, I do not have any EDs or illnesses. I have deduced it to be related to high metabolism. Either way, I feel and am perfectly healthy, as confirmed by my GP. The big boss, let's call him High Septon, has made some jabs and playful jokes, as he would probably phrase it, regarding my weight. Like calling me Sparrow in my native language, which is normally interpreted as a small, skinny, frail person. I don't really care what he thinks about me personally. He doesn't know me on a personal level. But it kind of rubbed me the wrong way. I may be able to take it, but what of my colleagues? Not everyone has thick skin, and not everyone can shake it off. So I decided to throw a wrench in there the next time he brought it up. Yesterday, the high septon came over to my desk and asked me something, which for some reason led into a discussion about food. He said, "So are you gonna eat today, Sparrow?" Falsely insinuating that I don't even eat every day. I replied, "Nah, I'm on a diet, trying to lose weight." He responds, "What?" I say, "Yeah, been feeling kind of bloated lately. I want to lose like 10 kg, about 22 pounds. He responds, "But you can't do that. You're not really on a diet, are you?" I just shrugged and went back to working. He just stared at me, then meeked back to his own desk. For clarity, I currently have a BMI of 20.5. The imaginary target weight I threw at him would put me at 17.5, which is way too low. I have absolutely no plans on losing any weight. If anything, I struggle to put on weight. He avoided me for the rest of the day and hasn't looked at me all day today, and best of all, no comments about food or weight. If he says something more, I'm gonna call him out, but for now, I'll just continue to wallow in the awkward, tense environment I've managed to create. Edit, thank you all so much for the awards and all the warming and loving comments. You're all so wonderful. I can definitely feel the love in this Chili's tonight. I also just want to clarify a few things. Yes, I will take it up with HR, but I'm not going to do a big show and dance of it. I get the Reddit thirst for blood, and I am definitely one who can jump on that bandwagon, but I also feel confident enough that he was joking, inappropriate as it was. He was just lucky the target of his joke happened to be the most chill scarecrow on the planet. I also want to take a moment and thank everyone who pointed out the double meaning of the abbreviation ED. I will definitely look into Marfan syndrome, as several of you pointed out. Several of the symptoms do match a little bit too well for me to dismiss it. I'll take it up with my doctor next time I see him. And lastly, you are all fantastic beings, and you never need to justify your body, shape, form, or other part of your existence to anyone. Never forget that. Well, wouldn't be Reddit comments if there weren't people in the comments being like, "OP, you may have this rare genetic disorder," and leaving the OP a little freaked out and having to look into this thing. Don't get me wrong, it's good to rule it out and stuff, but somebody's tall and skinny and finds it hard to put on weight? Must be Marfan syndrome. A user named A Little Boo Boo left a comment saying, "Is your boss super gullible or something?" That would be an obvious joke to most people considering how you've described your appearance here. Glad you got to needle him back though. No one should comment on others' weight. The OP responded, "I think it's the perfect storm of him being just enough gullible and my just enough deadpan expression when I said it. And you're right, no one should comment on anyone's weight, which kinda helped me in doubling down on the prank. Come Monday, I might even bring some diet props. I feel committed." Our next story is Epic Revenge Against High School Bully. I'm not petty or one to normally take revenge, but I inadvertently became the landlord of one of my high school bullies. At this point, I was 25 and well past high school, and it didn't even faze me initially. I was young and had a big heart. We had massive low-income properties, which I managed for an absentee owner. I was the type of landlord that would take in people running from a bad situation and furnish their home with donated furnishings. I would buy tenants meals, work out payment arrangements if they couldn't pay rent by giving them odd jobs, or spot them some cash when they ran into a jam. Tenants absolutely adored me because of the good I did for everyone. So anyways, this girl for some bizarre reason tried to start a fight with me in the lobby of the building where my staff and tenants witnessed the interaction. I told her to grow up and I wouldn't be taking any disrespect from her now that we're grown adults. However, she sealed her fate, as word got around the entire building of 200 plus units and they turned against her. Someone made a crude poster and cemented it on her door. Another tenant left heavy machinery going over her head and left for the weekend. People were heckling her anytime she walked through the building. After about 2 weeks, she came and begged me to let her out of the lease. I let her go for her own safety and because things were escalating. Come moving day, I had my revenge. I mysteriously lost the elevator key that day just as the mover showed up. She went ballistic, was kicking in my office door and throwing a tantrum as I just smirked at her. My one petty moment in life. I'm now much older and that was probably a bit much, but that girl really brought it on herself. So don't get me wrong, it likely made it way more difficult for her on moving day for the elevator not to be working, but did OP really get more revenge on her or the movers? Because wouldn't that mean the movers would just have to go up and down stairs with everything now? It would be harder for her, maybe it would cost more, take longer for sure. Or would it make the movers instead go, okay, well, we're not even going to do this, we're not dealing with stairs? A user named Man Mountain left a comment asking, what did she do to you in high school? How did she become your tenant? The OP responded, I took over as building manager and she already lived in the building. I found out she was a tenant when she came to pay rent. She was just nasty, one of the typical mean girls. It didn't help I wouldn't stand up for myself. I had a rocky home life and was petrified social services would get involved and separate the family if I fought back. Our next story is, my best friend roasted a guy so bad he left the party we were at. My then 27-year-old male and my best friend, then 26-year-old male, were at a party a while ago. Some close friends, others acquaintances. One guy showed up that my buddy and I can't stand. Let's call him Daniel. My best friend and I are usually polite to Daniel and tolerate him as he's pretty much embedded in our social circle. However, he has always rubbed us the wrong way, to say the least. Over the years, he has proven himself a serial monogamous type guy at best, predator at worst. Daniel has this habit of dating girls in our social circle and any new female who gets brought around, freaking them for a week or two, and then ghosting them. When the woman gets upset, this jerk tells anyone who will listen that the girl is crazy and or a stalker. You get the picture. There were even rumors of him briefly dating a minor, although no one could prove it. The thing that ticked my best friend off most is that Daniel targeted his older sister one night when she was fall down drunk. Luckily, we were there and wouldn't let him take her home, even though he swore up and down he would make sure she got home safe. Heck no, no way we were going to let this scumbag take her anywhere that night. Back to the night in question, Daniel showed up in blue jeans, a bright red karate gi top, a black belt, and a headband with a kana symbol on it. He was the kind of guy who would experiment with all kinds of eccentric outfits. However, this time, it didn't take long for people to start making fun of him. My friend and I just drank beer and enjoyed all the quips thrown at Daniel for his outfit. For the most part, he just sort of laughed it off, but we could tell it was bothering him. It was obvious he thought he expected to get a ton of compliments, but what he got was jeers and hilarious jokes about his appearance. Later that night, a bunch of us were sitting around a large table, including Daniel. Someone asked if Daniel came here directly from the YMCA karate class. We all laughed. That was when my best friend chimed in and said, "Guys, come on, give Daniel a break." I saw the relief in Daniel's face at having someone stick up for him. Then my friend continued, "I mean, hasn't he had a hard enough time? Don't you remember when he was trying to ride his bike home and Cobra Kai knocked him down that hill?" I'm here to tell you, the laughter was deafening. I actually fell out of my chair thinking I was gonna pee myself. My best friend's timing was perfect, and he said it loud enough for half the party to hear it. Daniel had had enough. He took his headband off and just left. We were all still laughing long after the door closed behind him. This happened quite a long time ago, but we still laugh about it. Edit, it should be mentioned that the night Daniel tried to take my best friend's drunk sister home, there was a much stronger reaction than I let on. My best friend got in Daniel's face aggressively and there was almost a fight. My best friend and I tolerated him up till that point. After this happened though, he was a pariah to us. Also, the last time I saw Daniel before I moved a few states away, he crashed a house party my best friend and I were hosting. We lived together at the time. It didn't take long for Daniel to tick me off, and I kicked him out. He started talking crap to a friend of mine outside, and Daniel ended up getting his butt kicked. Our social circle got smaller and smaller until I moved. I am a lot pickier about the social gatherings I go to now. Edit 2, it was pointed out to me that calling Daniel a serial monogamous person was inaccurate. I agree it was a poor choice of words. Freak boy is way more accurate. Predator works too. Also, there were always going to be people who think a story is fake. I just can't understand for the life of me why anyone would think this was AI. This account is 14 years old, and the post even had grammatical errors. I can assure you, this all happened. So here's the thing, in this day and age, people are pretty much going to claim anything is AI. I've been doing these Reddit story videos for going on 6 years now, and every so often I'll still get a comment that pops up like, the AI went really weird today, or, and maybe it's a joking thing, I couldn't quite tell, but somebody the other day commented, Steven is lagging again, because I voiced a line, wasn't happy with it, and revoiced it, and accidentally left that first line in, so I just repeated a line in my post story comments. I think at this point, with how prevalent AI is, no matter what you do, you'll never be able to convince some people that it isn't written or produced or used with AI tools. There's been a couple situations in my life where I've been sick and I was out for a week or two and I did use an AI voiceover, and it's so painfully obviously different. I don't know what else I could do to prove otherwise. I don't know, bust out into song. Like, what do I have to do that AI can't do that would prove that I'm not an AI robot voiceover? A user named Pantocratorix left a comment saying, in the very early 90s, I went out on a date with a guy who showed up dressed, literally, like a pirate. I'm a very accepting person, so we went, but I talked to him about it several months later, and I guess that when he was getting dressed, he just kept putting on things that he liked. So jeans, a tank top, a billowy white shirt open to the navel over the tank top, and one large hoop earring. He said after he looked in the mirror, he realized what he had done, but he figured, let's see what happens. I just weirded myself, and I had known him for years, so there was no judgment on my part. We dated for a few months. We were friends for years afterwards. Jay Bandit replied to that saying, wait, there's a guy on our team dressed as a pirate? Yar, Steve. Our next story is, I psychologically tortured a friend at work one night. I got the idea from an episode of Futurama. Spoiler, the episode where Leela gets stung by the space bees, if anyone is curious. In my defense, a while before this, he had been messing with me for a whole shift by moving my stuff around, making me believe I left things where I didn't, or hiding them for a while, and putting them back exactly where I had left them. It was driving me insane. I finally caught him in the act, and he confessed. I also warned him I would get him back. He apparently didn't believe me or forgot because I waited a while. As soon as our shift started one day, he, like me, was the type to get out of bed right before his shift started at 2 p.m. Anytime we were talking and he wasn't looking directly at me, I would whisper, I need you to wake up, just loud enough for him to hear me. I gradually got louder, but it was still barely above a whisper. At first, he thought I was messing with him, but my insistence that I wasn't, to the point that I was faking annoyance and anger at his accusation, eventually led him to believe that he was actually having a dream, and nothing around him was real. We had been discussing and experimenting with lucid dreaming with a little success. One of my other coworkers caught on to what I was doing and joined in a few times. She was even looking him dead in the eyes once when she said it, but played it off so well that he was visibly distressed. Thank you, Brandy, for the assist. The hardest part was planning out sentences I could say and replace words while changing the octave of my voice. For example, hey, did you get that burger on the grill yet? Became, out loud, hey, did you, I need you to wake up, grill yet? Anytime he would ask me what I said, increasingly distressed or aggressive, I would repeat the question normally while looking at him like he was crazy, or ask him what he was talking about with the same level of aggression, repeat the question, and ask what the heck was wrong with him. I even asked him if he was high once or drunk a few times, knowing danged well he didn't drink on the clock or do drugs besides take a puff or two on a joint every now and then at a party. Over the course of the night, I noticed he kept doing small things like pinching himself and looking confused, picking stuff up and letting go to see what would happen, randomly staring at walls or other objects like they were going to move, etc. I finally stopped when I noticed he was holding his hand above our fryer, like he was going to dip it in to finally prove to himself that he was awake. I snatched his hand back and insisted to him that he was awake and this was all real. I didn't confess what I had been doing, but I stopped. Until we were walking out at the end of the night, He was still visibly unsettled but calming down, and we, accomplice coworker included, were having a normal conversation until we split to go to our vehicles. Right before I got to mine, I turned to him and yelled out, "By the way, Joel, I need you to wake up!" He screamed the loudest "freak you" that he could muster. He showed up the next day looking like he hadn't slept in days. I asked him, "Rough night?" He got in my face with a very unusual level of aggression for him. I legit thought I was about to get my butt whooped, and admittedly I deserved it, but he started it. He yelled, "Don't ever freaking do that again." I couldn't freaking sleep because I didn't know if I would wake up. I grinned at him and told him not to move my crap around again. He had made me feel just as crazy as I made him feel. He got angrier, but eventually said, "All right." We made a truce to never do anything like that to each other again. We still played pranks, but they didn't involve potential future therapy. That was almost 20 years ago, and to this day, that was the best prank I have ever pulled. Am I proud of it? Absolutely. Would I pull it on someone again? No, unless they really deserved it. I wonder if he still cringes when he hears, "Wake up." Well, considering OP mentioned that he put his hand over an air fryer, I'm thinking that they probably work in a kitchen, and that's unfortunate because if Gordon Ramsay ever strolled through those doors, one of the things he loves to say is, "Wake up." Although, I wonder if that guy was already short on sleep or something. I mean, even the lucid dreaming thing, I feel like it takes a lot for somebody to have that "I need you to wake up" thing go on for them and for them to freak out about it all day. A user named Just Soup for My Family left a comment saying, "Nearly gaslighted the man into diving into the fryer." The OP responded, "I was legitimately considering checking myself into a mental institution until I caught him with my spatula. My inner SpongeBob is viciously vindictive apparently." Our next story is, roommate keeps drinking my OJ, so I teach them a lesson. Not a complicated story. My old roommate used to eat my food and drinks. Despite having several conversations about boundaries and not being a jerk, nothing changed. So, I faked being sick for 2 days over the weekend when he was home, and I drank directly out of the OJ container. I licked the edge of the pickle jar before putting the top back on when some pickle juice ran over. I stuck my bare finger in the peanut butter. I used my finger to put cream cheese on a bagel. I made sure he noticed all of it. On Sunday, he broke and asked me if I always handled food like that. I told him I thought it was dumb to dirty utensils when I'm the only one eating my food. Not only did that end my food being stolen, but he suggested we have our own drawers and shelves in the fridge to prevent confusion. Anybody think that the roommate is actually kind of passive here? Because, sickness or not, if I found out that my roommate was handling all of our supposedly shared things like this the entire time, I might have a little bit stronger reaction. Like, I don't know, what wild pack of animals did you grow up with? I don't know, I would be trying to inflict some mental poison tick damage to that guy. I'd be like, are you that kind of person that when the family dog comes around, you French kiss with them too? You just stick that tongue and finger wherever you feel like it, huh? Our next story is, an office rat isn't sleeping either. I thought about this last night and chuckled to myself. I used to work 12 hours, 4 days a week, and off 4 days. It was a great schedule to work when I was young and energetic. I worked with someone who's like my sister, and we had a great time. 2 nights a week, we worked with the most miserable boomer in the world. She once told me that she tricked a Muslim by not telling him that there was pork on a pizza. I said to her, so that's actually incredibly evil. In the dead of Canadian winter, I understood and my friend understood, we're going to get tired. If it was quiet, one of us would shut our eyes and the other would watch the phones. We never had an issue. However, we never did it when that miserable woman was around. One night, I got so tired I fell asleep for about 20 minutes. Woke up to the phone lines ringing. I wake up and that miserable woman was watching me. I just looked at her and answered the phone. We come back in that night, and one of our supervisors started telling us how she went to the GM and told her that I had fallen asleep. The GM said, "That happens. Their shift runs smoothly. I don't care what they do as long as their work is done." I just laugh. That night, she comes in and it was a cold freaking night. I notice around 2 a.m. she started dozing off and snoring. I take out my cell phone and start dialing from a private number and she jolted awake. She kept dozing off and I kept doing it all night. Whether or not she knew it was me, or she just knew she embarrassed herself by being a 55-year-old tattletale, she never did rat on me or my friend ever again. So, although OP never clarified exactly in the post, OP did in the comments multiple times have to deal with Redditors being like, 55 years old, that's not a boomer. OP had to clarify multiple times to multiple people. The post started with, I used to work 12 hours 4 days a week and off 4 days when I was young and energetic. It had been a while, and she's certainly much older than 55 now. A user named Acer left a comment saying, old snitches are jerks. The OP replied, dang straight, I'm 42 now and I can't imagine being so miserable to my Gen Z coworkers. She also hated me when I first started and I was promoted very quickly. She quit and then hated her new job and came back to her old one. My manager made me her supervisor. Oh God, was she ticked. Our next story is, dog owner harasses me out of field because of my dangerous dogs, so I show her a dangerous dog. So I've got 2 German Shepherds who were at the time a year old and in their velociraptor phase. I lived in an apartment and had to go out to a field to let them get out their zoomies on a regular basis because they're big old dogs. We lived next to a college that had a lot of open fields away from people, and a lot of other people would regularly take their dogs there, so that's where we would typically go. I always made sure to take them earlier in the morning when we would have the field to ourselves, so they could run around freely just playing. Well, one morning, we're doing our usual routine, and I notice a lady with a smaller dog walking near us. Cool, no problem. People regularly walk their dogs, so I just call my 2 over to me and lead them farther out. Well, instead of just continuing on her walk, she starts walking towards us, and I'm getting weirded out. I reel them in, put their leashes back on their harnesses, and have them sit still beside me while I figure out what this lady's deal is. She continues to walk towards us, and I call out asking her not to approach us because she's got this demon of a pug barking at us, and my dogs are getting nervous because of it. They're not aggressive at all, but they've both been attacked by another dog prior to this, and it was traumatizing for all of us. That's why I go for open fields with nothing and nobody in them. Instead of stopping, she still walks towards us, and at this point, I'm like, lady, what the heck is your problem? And then she decides to speak up. Well, since you're just going to let your dogs run around without leashes when they're a dangerous breed, it should be fine if I let mine run around, right? I'm seriously just in disbelief because we're literally in an open field with no one else but us. Plus, I always leave their harnesses on so I can grab them just in case. Her heckhound continues yapping, my dogs are freaking out, she's trying to provoke me, and I'm overwhelmed, so I just take my dogs back to the car. I'm in tears at this point, and so embarrassed because it's already so hard to be a large dog owner. I understand I have a responsibility to be more careful because I get it. Big dogs can be scary and suffer more consequences if they act up. I take that responsibility seriously and take every precaution to make sure they get their needs without inconveniencing other people, and we still get freaked over. I put my babies in the car, and it's obvious they're disappointed because we had literally only been there for 10 minutes. I'm crying in my car and look back out to where she is, and I lose my freaking mind. This jerk lets her dog off the leash so it can run around. She wanted the field to herself. Something in me snapped, and I roll down the windows so I can leave my 2 in the car for a second and start walking towards her. I didn't even have a game plan for anything, I'm just angrily marching over to her, and as I get closer, I just hear that Palpatine line in my head go, "Do it," and I go absolutely feral. I bend over and start chasing and barking at her little crap of a dog, and all heck breaks loose. I'm barking like a maniac while the dog is basically screaming. You know, those weird butt noises pugs make? And this lady is losing it. She's screaming at me and trying to chase me, but I don't care. She can't even catch me because she's massive, which plays out perfectly because when her pug comes darting towards her, he goes in between her legs and trips her up, which sends her down. She literally looked like a turtle on its back and is just flailing around, screaming. I run back to my car, and I feel freaking amazing. She's screaming something about police, and we just drive off to get some pup cups. I ended up taking them on a walk instead, which usually sucks because they pull me like a rag doll, but I was so happy I didn't even care. I'm almost never confrontational, and I've got pent-up retail rage, so yeah, it felt therapeutic to finally be able to stick it to someone. Like I said, I'm terrible at writing, but just thought I'd share this little victory of mine. Edit, for those whining about me having 2 big dogs in an apartment, this was years ago and we have a house now. They were given to us and we didn't want them to end up in a shelter where they would probably be miserable or worse, put down. And for those whining about me letting my dogs run around irresponsibly off-leash in a public area, it's a giant field away from people, and they have great recall. We've never had any other incidents besides this one because a lady decided to instigate crap for no reason. If anybody knows what I'm talking about, for some reason, I'm imagining OP is something like that news story video that they filmed of a guy. I don't even remember the story, but they asked the guy, what was the dog like? And this guy just starts channeling his inner demonic dog and just starts barking and snarling towards the microphone. All that while chasing around a pug. A user named Alola A left a comment saying, get one of those over-the-nose halters. They keep dogs from pulling, because when they pull, they just turn right back toward you. It really made a difference with a small woman I knew with a pulley German Shepherd mix. She didn't even want to walk him anymore before that. They do take some getting used to for the dog, but I hope this helps you. Nicely done, by the way. The OP replied, oh, I'll have to look into that. I love my dogs, but if I get one more, are you walking them or are they walking you? Comment, I'm gonna have to start barking again. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. Now, if you want to hear another awesome revenge story, why not check out that video on the left of the screen right now? Or if you want to, you can check out my latest video on the right of the screen. That said, don't go barking up the wrong tree, and I'll see you all next time with some more stories.